Tech systems, most of you guys have gotten probably a ridiculous amount of calls, so I'm sorry about that. But we have a ton of different SQL roles open right now. It seems to be in high demand. So if you're interested in hearing about contract to hire, I think we have a couple direct placement as well. So feel free to grab me. My two partners are also here. Or if you just have questions about what's going on in the market, there seems to be a lot of changing. People are changing names, getting buyouts happening, or just if you're interested in like market trends, we're here to help and give as much insight about different companies as we can. So like I said, feel free to grab us afterwards if you have any questions.
Thank you. Okay, and some of you may early. Next month we're going to have a meeting and a half. We'll probably have a meeting here on the last Friday. There's going to be a meeting on PowerShell. I think it's the Wednesday of the last week. It's held down in Franklin at the Microsoft office at night. I'll send you an email about that. And I'll probably remind you at the end of the meeting because the notes say you talk about that at the end of the meeting. So I'll get out of the way and let Robert, I think it is. Mississippi State.
Both the 4 teams lost last week, just by the way. So today I'm going to be presenting on 16 enhancements for SQL 2016. This is not live in production by any means, so feel free to, you can download this, anybody can, and evaluate the latest version, but it's not live. Microsoft won't support if you do anything on anything like that. But if anybody's been to sessions that I've done before, you always know that I'm going to have some sort of pop or internet culture reference of some kind. I decided to do the same theme all the way through this time. So this time I'm going to be doing Rage Comics. Anybody familiar with Rage Comics? Anyway? Good people, good people. How did I know Zane was? I was in the bathroom just a second, I was like, I bet Zane is going to know what Rage Comics are.
I'm scared that you were thinking about me there.
I'm just gonna make sure. Yeah. Okay. So here's my first one. It's I see what you did there. Yes, I kind of snuck that in on you. So real quick about me, you know who I am, Robert Verell. I'm DBA at HealthSpring. I don't know what you heard about me, but I'm MCITP. Here's my contact stuff: Twitter, email, blog. I'm one of your chapter leaders as well. You wonder why it's SQL Cowbell? Yes, because I'm a Mississippi State fan. This is all for Mojo. Didn't really help last week versus LSU. Yeah. Okay, don't want to hear about that. So you may be wondering, just what are Rage Comics? Well, have you ever had anything happen to you that wasn't in the funny papers? Are you not particularly good at drawing, but you still want to share your experience with the world? Rage Comics may be just for you. So I'll give a little situation that happened last week. So we have Jersey here, who's in the back, a lovely Jersey. And she's like, we don't have a speaker for next week, we need help. And so the leadership team got together and we were like, should we show a pitch session from PASH? Should we cancel? Gosh, what should we do? So I thought to myself, or I could write that session on 2016 that I've been wanting to write for like 3 months. Question is, can I do it in a week? And I thought, challenge accepted.
Are you just telling everybody this is going to suck? Is that what you're saying?
You'll either really love it or you'll really hate it. So, quick disclaimer. So, if you've ever been to my sessions, you know that I always have some kind of technical content with demos. I always have pros and cons to tell you the good and the bad things, and I also give you a real world experience. Once again, this 2016 isn't in production yet, so I don't have real world experience with that. I hate that I can't provide it to you, but I just can't. It's impossible. So, moving along. What are we going to talk about today? Got a nice list of topics here. They're not bad either. First thing, we've got some high-level changes that I'll go over. I'm going to just kind of skirt over those a little bit. I'll talk about stretch database and tables, nice little feature. In-memory level TP enhancements. I'll do this at very high level as well. I'll have a small demo for stretch tables, but it will be extremely small. The last 4 things I'll have demos on, including temporal tables, query store, which I think is the best feature in 2016 so far. Row-level security, which is also really nice, and I'll talk about how that could have prevented a very serious security problem that happened a couple months ago. And last, we'll get to the big one, which is always encrypted. Everybody's talking about this, always encrypted stuff. They want to know about it. I got a demo, and God willing, it works.
You realize that's only 7 things.
Right, yeah, and so about that, you may notice that this is only like 7 things, even with the high-level changes, it's only like maybe 12. Well, I have a rage comic for that, and I lied. Nice pointing that out, thank you, Lewis.
You did not rehearse that.
We really did not rehearse that in any way, but I figured someone would bring it up. So talk about high-level enhancements real quick. Like I said, I'm not going to go over these in real big detail. I'm not sure if I'm going to have time or not. This session could go 30 minutes. It could go an hour. I honestly have absolutely no idea. Hopefully, it'll fill up enough space to kind of get us through lunch. So, okay, I'm sorry, but it's just the way it is. First thing is TempDB set up on the installer. So the first thing I noticed when I installed 2016 is whenever you go to the files and it gives you the file paths for TempDB, they give you an option now for how many TempDB files it's going to create. Now, while that's a really nice feature, I don't care for the fact that it doesn't give you different locations that you could put the files in or that you could size them appropriately. So you can't set them on separate drives, it's all on the same location, but it does at least cut the files out into the number of files, and it does it based on the number of processors, and there's an algorithm that they use that's behind it. Some availability group changes, which was introduced in 2012, but now you can have 3 asynchronous replicas in your availability group, which is nice. They have round-robin load balancing, which is good. You don't have to pay for a load balancer anymore if you're using one. And you can also do an auto failover based on database health, which is a nice feature. The next couple of features that we have here, you can use Power Query and SSIS. There's Power Query support now, which is good. If you're a big fan of Power Query, I guess. And then the next thing we have is R scripting support. Anybody ever heard of R? Chance? Yeah. Wow. A lot more people than I thought. Yeah, I took a quick look at it and I was like, this is analytic stuff, and it looks like C#. It's got the curly brackets. That's past life. I don't really want to do that anymore. So I don't have an example for it. But I will note, another thing they have is Polybase. And this is a really nice feature too. I'm going to stop saying it's a really nice feature in a minute. But Polybase is going to allow you to hook into Hadoop, get data from Hadoop, and make joins to SQL data. Really nice. And these last 3 features, Power Query, RScript, and Polybase, I should note that we do have a BI group in town. If you go hit up Tamara Clark or Carrie Tyler, they will be more than happy to find someone or do a session on these for them if you want. They meet nightly. It's more kind of in the Williamson County area. Please go check them out. They got a great group going on there. So let's talk about stretch database. Here's my rage comment for it. Now, with this, it's a really nice feature because you can move either an entire tables or just a subset all the way into Azure. So it's a way of having a database that's in 2 different places. So say you have a lot of archive data in a table, you got a really big table and you're going to have some of it offloaded so where you don't have to pay for the storage, things like that. This is a really good option for that. They even have an advisor that they will let you run, and it will tell you what would be the best candidates for using stretch database. The way that this works is on the back end, it creates a linked server that goes into an Azure server. Now, end users can't actually access that linked server, which is nice. But if you run a select query to get all the records in that table, you're still going to get all the records. It's just going to pull them from Azure using that linked server and join them together. So here's a quick demo for it. All you literally have to do is right-click on the database, go to Tasks, and hit Stretch. And this pops up. That first tab on the left there, this server stretch status, is literally like, turn it on. So I really feel that was worth having a screenshot for. And then you literally get to this screen and you can see your row count and your size, and you can select which tables. You can select all of them if you want, none of them. You can select how many rows you want to migrate. It's pretty robust. The next screen that you have, you literally have to log into Microsoft Azure. And this is also where my demo ends for 2 reasons. One, I'm not going to depend on the internet to do any kind of session of any kind. And secondly, I don't have an Azure login, so that's not going to happen. But you can do it either way. You can either select an existing server in Azure that you have, or you can create a new server. Yes, sir?
Is this different from the way you could put some of your files in Azure in earlier versions?
Yes, it is. So the question is this different from how you could put different files in Azure as you could earlier? Yes, it is. This is literally having part of tables in a database on Azure versus having actual files. I'm assuming you can still do that as well, but I have no idea. Oh, and I will note, one thing that I found out about doing the stretch database stuff, if you're an admin and you have users who have elevated rights in development, you better make sure that you have Azure blocked through a firewall of some kind, because anybody that has DB owner is able to enable stretch database. And you don't want your data going into Azure if that's against your company's policy. Any questions on stretch database? Cool, moving along. Next thing we have are in-memory OLTP enhancements. I'm going to just gloss over these real quick. The old size in 2014 was 256 gigabytes. Now you can have up to 2 terabytes. It's nice. You can have large objects in your in-memory OLTP tables now. So you can have var binary and varchar max. You can give alter table commands. So you can put new indexes on there. You can rebuild indexes if you want, which is nice. Alter procedure as well. So if you have procedures that you have that are in memory OLTP, you can do that as well. You can index null columns now, which is good too. They've also introduced parallelism in 2014. If you queried an in-memory OLTP table and only used one thread, now it'll use multiple threads, which is good. You can implement foreign keys and check constraints. I know Lewis is going to like that. That's good. That's a good feature. They're implementing DML triggers, also a good thing. So you can see here that they're eliminating a lot of the constraints in 2014 that in-memory OLTP had. Now, I will say a quick note on these kinds of tables, that Microsoft recommends that if you're going to have these kind of tables in your database, you need to be able to dedicate 2x memory to those particular tables. So if you have a 256 gigabyte table, you better have at least 512 gigabytes that you can dedicate to just that table. So if you have a 2 terabyte table and you're wanting to use this, do you have 4 terabytes of memory? If you do, I want to come work for you. Oh, and the last thing, they don't have it available in the version that I'm using here. It's 2.3, but they are saying that they're going to have it come out soon. They are going to have in-memory updatable column store indexes, which is nice. What did I just do?
You get the B button. One other thing, collation support. All collations now. So
Oh, I actually didn't know that. So Lewis is saying that they're also offering a collation support. That's good stuff. Thank you. Temporal tables. What if I told you we could time travel? We can go back in time. We can't go forward in time. It's not like Back to the Future 2 where we can go forward in time and see that the Cubs are going to win the World Series, but they're really not. They have hoverboards and stuff. We're going to go back in time. Really just see back in time, I should say. Would you be just completely blown away by it? Temporal tables are really good for auditing. It behaves in a lot of the ways that CPC does. I know you're very familiar with CPC, but it's not a replacement for it. You are able to repair record level corruptions, almost like it's a backup for a table. And you can also apply slowly changing dimensions of the type 2 changing behavior. I have no idea what that means, but I figured I would note that. I do have a demo for this, so let me go to that here. Yeah, I know.
The type 2 dimension is just you insert new records and you maintain an effective date of when that record was effective. Whereas a type 1, you would go in and update the record so you don't keep track of the history changes.
Oh, I see.
Just throw that one out there.
No, that's cool, because I've always wondered how slowly changing dimensions work, and I know, that's cool. Okay, so temporal tables. So I already have, did I restore this database? I think I did. I may have to do a quick restore here.
Yeah, you might have to turn off the...
Actually, let me try something else first. Let me see if I can just do this. Yeah, okay. So I do need to do a restore. I apologize for this, folks.
I think you have to turn off the typical stuff. Drop the table.
Just so that you can see that I'm not doing anything too crazy.
Other than restoring your database is more important.
Yeah, it happens.
So, while you're doing this, the question is, do I have to restore my database every time I want to drop a table, or is that?
No, you do not have to restore the database every time you drop a table.
Yes.
That's good.
Okay, now let's try this again here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create just a shell of the person.state province. And it's literally just a list of states and provinces in Canada, France, and the United States. And so I've got that shell out there now. And in order for me to enable temporal tables, I have to add these two columns here. They're date times and generated always as row start. Let me inflate that a little bit here. And then you also have to have this period for system time, start time, end time. All right, and then the next thing I'm gonna do, you have to have a primary key, and since I only created the shell using the select start, I've got to do that. So I'll create a primary key. Next thing you have to do is come here and do an alter table and set system versioning on. All right, and now the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to load everything from the old table. (181 rows. So we got a nice little place in here. So I'll do a select star from, make sure my data's in there. It is. All right. Now I'm going to come out here. Here's my VentureWorks database. Let me refresh it. And I want to show you this here. Here's my table that I created. See that it says that the system version. And I also have this nice little history table here. Okay, that's one way you can identify that you have a temporal table set up. And I can query it. And if you don't, you can specify a name for the history table if you want. If you don't, it's just going to give it the object ID. And I can query it. You see I don't have any records in there right now. And the reason why is because it doesn't log inserts, but it does log updates. So for my example that I'm going to use here, we're going to pretend that we, the United States of America, we're sick of hockey sticks, we're sick of igloos, and those Canadian sons of bitches are going down. And we're going to invade Canada, or attempt to, and nobody's going to die, thankfully, but they're going to give us Saskatchewan. So it's going to become a U.S. province. All right, so now I'll query my history table here again. You can see that, this is the history of that, okay? It used to be Canada, it's not anymore. This is what it was at that particular time. But if I come in here and select this, and come find Saskatchewan, it says it's a U.S. region. Okay. Next thing I'll do, I'll show again that it's not going to track inserts. Still no inserts in there. Now, the way that it does this is it has this modified date, and this is start time, and this is end time. And then the table has rows similar to that as well. You got a start time and end time. Notice since these records are active, they have this is end time of 10,000 AD. Yes, sir.
Does that table have to be the same file group? Or temporal table, sorry.
Does the temporal table have to be in the same file group? I honestly don't know. I don't think so. I don't believe so.
Does it track deletes?
It does track deletes, and I'll show you that. So let's delete this here. Okay, let's go back and we'll select this again. No, that's not the right object ID. So you can see here, here's where I deleted the record. If you go into the table, it's not there. And the reason why is because it basically says that the system time is this. Now, as far as looking back in the time like I was talking about, what you can do is you can query your main table and say system time as of blah, 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 and it will look back in time and see what the table looked like at that particular point in time. So what I'll do here is I will take, we'll take this guy here. And there's my record, even though I deleted it just a minute ago. You can see it's listed as Canada. If I change the time to when we actually had it set up as a US province, then it'll show up that it was set up as a US province instead. So you can see where you can use this for auditing. But like I said, it's not a replacement for CDC. Cool. Yes, sir, Zane.
What's the functionality whenever you actually, if you were to truncate that table?
You can't truncate these tables. Matter of fact, look here, I have it as part of my demo. You can't truncate it. Any other questions on temporal tables?
Is there a simple way to see what changed?
Yeah, you could dig into that history table if you wanted to, and you can, and since it tracks updates and deletes, I'm sure you could write some kind of a view if you wanted to. If you wanted to look at just one particular record and see how many times it had changed or what the values were at particular times, you could certainly do that.
Would you guys want to see a full demo of this presentation early next year?
Yeah, the question is, would you want to see a full demo of this early next year?
Yes.
Okay. That sounds like Lewis volunteered.
Hey, Robert, was there anything in that specifically identified a change versus delete in that?
You actually have to change.
Right, yeah, it does. The question is there anything that identifies it as a delete or an update? And
No. It just tells you when that value is effective.
Okay, that's what I thought. I didn't see anything, so that's why I was wondering.
right, yeah. I guess you could basically look at the last system time and take it like that. So if you wanted to do a max time on that, you could do that. Just some ideas. Good question though.
And you can also re-add the row. So if you come back and insert it again, it'll be a gap in time. When you look at a certain time, it's there, and it's not there.
Yes.
Which is pretty cool. And you can update, you can load your own history. So if you want to migrate a history table you have, you can migrate into these tables as well.
Lewis is saying that you can, of course, add the record back just for folks if there's anybody listening online. And it sounds like Lewis is well versed in temporal tables, and it sounds like he really wants to implement it maybe just a little bit.
I've written a blog post on just using one table so far.
Oh, okay, cool, very cool.
Going to the next one. So.
Can you change the name of the temporal table? Does it not have-
Well, like I said, you can make it not have the object ID at the end. You can specify what name you want to give it. But if you don't specify it, then it's just going to give it truncated or concatenate with the object ID.
It has to have all the columns of the table. Right.
Can you modify the table?
Can you modify the table? I haven't tried as far as like adding a column or I don't see why not.
You have to turn versioning off.
Right, yeah, I would assume you'd have to probably turn off the versioning piece of it, and then you could probably do it. But yeah, you could, I don't see why not. You could probably, I'm sure you could run, index rebuilds on it and things like that as well.
When you turn it off, you lose the old versions.
It does not drop the history table.
Okay,
So
it just stops updating.
I don't exactly know, but it does not. It's not a simple process to update the tables.
Right, the question was if you turn off versioning, do you lose all your versions? And we're saying no,
It
right?
does not drop the table for sure.
Right. Okay, so that's the end of temporal tables in my demo. So now I want to move on to Query Store and my demo for it. Like I said, this is my favorite thing that we have that's in 2016, at least so far. Maybe second favorite, but probably favorite. So I'll move to the demo for it. All right, so what I have here and this may be worth the price of admission, who knows, is, if you put a number after your go statement, it'll run it that many times. I'm just going to run this query here just as many times as I can. I've also got a recompile at the end of it here, and I'm going to drop the clear the buffer cache and the procedure cache out while I run it. So I'm going to run this. Oh wait, actually I've got to do something else first. So query store. What I got to do to enable it is come to properties. Come down here to query store. I want to turn it on. I'm going to make it read write. Let's make this 1500 or so. I don't know. Max size. Make it a little bigger, I guess. And so now we'll just enable that. And so that's going to enable query store. So I'm basically just going to run this query here 10,000 times. So it's running and it's running and it's running and it's running. Now what I can do is I can come over to here and refresh, and I'll get a new tab, query store, and it gives me these nice little dashboards, as it were. So I can run to look at a top running queries. There it goes, finally. And so here's my query that's been running. You can see it there. And I have a plan ID for it. You can see that I have a missing index. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this running. And I'm going to create my index. And I'll run this again. And if my demo works properly, we'll get a second plan ID. You can see that the new plan that I have here, let me select it so you can see down the bottom. You see the other completely different execution point. Pretty cool. And if you decided, well, I really like this one better, you can just click force plan and it'll always use this plan whenever you're in that query. So if you I mean, that's a suboptimal way of saying that. But if you have a query that's run ad hoc a lot like that, and you see that one particular plan is outperforming another, then you can simply say force plan, and it will use that plan anytime it's run. That may or may not be a good thing. Just so clear. Another thing that you can do is you can track a query. And I'll also show these other dashboards too. Do I need to answer that? You can see you can sort here by different things as well. So if you want to look at physical users instead, you could do that. It's a pretty robust interface for looking at different things. I know there's a way to track query, and I can't find out where it is. Maybe I need to select it. No. Anyway, you can select track query, and if it's maybe not one of the big heavy hitters on your system, you can come down here to track queries, and it will show you just your track queries, and it will basically give you this output, but over here just for that query. If you have like I said, if you have a bunch over here in this, and you just want to look at one particular thing, then that's one way you can kind of filter that out if you wanted to. So this is a nice little feature. I really like this little performance thing. Any questions on it? As long as you want. You basically specify that in your query store properties. Mm-hmm. And it'll purge as you wish. You can make it as big as you want. You can make it truncate based off of more of a time base or a size base as far as the query store size goes. I've been sitting here running this for ages, and I have yet to find any particular time when it has even taken up any space. Every time I go and look at the query store size, it's always 0 megabytes. That's obviously not going to be the case on a production system where you're running multiple queries, but yeah.
Does that have
have the spit and the user associated with the query?
The question is, does it have a spit and the user associated? It does not. No, it doesn't track it like that. It's really more for kind of tuning the queries and looking at bad performing queries than it is kind of who's doing what. We still have resources for things like that. You got SP2 is active and SP2 and if you have any monitoring tools. But yeah.
One thing I want to point out, I saw a demo of this in past and have the interface yet. When you force a query, it actually persists even if you read it. So,
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, even if you reboot the system, if you have to a force query on for a particular ad hoc query, it will use that nonstop. Even if you reboot.
It's the same, it's a planning guide, right? It's been around for a while. That's just the first time I've ever seen an interface. The UI to do it.
Oh, it hasn't been around for a while?
Yeah, it's something called plan guide where you could tell what plan to use.
Oh, right, yeah,
Freak it out, like,
yeah, right. Yeah, I always forget about that, so.
Robin, does it have, I mean, you said that it will keep track of for any length of time, does it allow you to do a differential between 3 or 4 different runs? I mean, maybe that's what you said, I'm not able to store it, are we going to be able to see overall, like?
So hang on, well, maybe I'll answer your question. The question was, can you do a differential kind of what's, so this is kind of overall on the entire server. And so I only have one query running, so you can see that here. But I mean, if you want a difference of which query is running better, I mean, this one's running in that amount of time, this one's running in that amount of time. So the one that has, or maybe I have that backwards, I can't remember. But this is basically where you do the analysis for that. But you can do differentials, as it were. Now, this data is all stored in probably system views of some kind, so you can definitely do differentials on things if you wanted to.
Plus, you can also use
Okay, so the next demo that I have is for row level security. Everybody's been kind of asking for row level security from Microsoft for a long time. So what row level security does is it applies row level security. Okay. And so I have a demo for this as well. All right. So I believe I've already created these, but I'm going to try to anyway. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into AdventureWorks. I'm going to take this person.person table, and I'm going to basically just create a dummy for it. All right. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 users. I'm going to create row security 2012 and row security 2011. I've seen some samples out there that are fairly robust, where there was a column in the table and it had basically the username of who updated the last. And the way that it was set up was you would only be able to see the rows that you had modified or you had inserted. That's fairly nice, but I wanted to come up with my own separate example for it. So I'm going to check and make sure that I've got these, but I'm pretty sure that I do.
You restored the database.
I did restore the database, so I probably had to recreate the users. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create the schema, and it's called row police. Let me make this bigger for you. The next thing that I have to do in order to enable this is that I have to create a function, and it's a table valued function. I should add, and I'm going to do it on this modified date. I'm just basically passing this in as a parameter for this function, but you'll see that better here in a second. And what I want to make it is there's a modified date column in this table that I'm using, and it goes all the way back to 2011. And what I want to do is make it where row security 2011 can only see rows from 2011, and row security 2012 can only see rows from 2012.
You didn't create
I never created my schema, did I? There we go. Next thing I do is I had to create a security policy based on the function that I had, on the table that I have, and that I created, row security test, and the modified date column I was telling you about. And I had to do this with state on. So now I'm going to do a little impersonation here, and I'm going to run my query as row security 2011, and I'm going to just run a select star and see what kind of results I get. So there's, if you recall, there were about 18,000 rows in that table. I only got 1,530 back, even though there's a select star. You can look over here in the modified date column. All the records are from 2011, every single one of them. Now, I'm going to revert these permissions back to my sysadmin permissions. I'm an admin on this box. You can see this is my Outlook account. Don't email me here, I never check that. Now I'm going to run this again. I'm an admin, and I just ran a select star on the table. I'm getting the data back. But there's a user that has read-only rights, and he got rows back. This would be if this was implemented at Anthem, that breach doesn't ever happen. Because the person who was malicious and got into their system, they got DB-admin rights. And they view DB-admin as being as a target in order to be able to get whatever data they wanted to. If they had something like this implemented on their data, then that breach never happened. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to filter this a little bit better. So I'm going to drop my security policy. I have to do that because I want to change my function up. So now I'm going to alter my function, still a table value function, and this time I'm going to make it a little more robust and basically make it where anybody who's not row security 2011 or row security 2012, they'll basically have rights to view whatever data they want as long as they have read access to the table. But those two guys are going to be reserved to just having their particular data set. Now I'll recreate my security policy. Now we're back with the impersonation. This still works, 1,530 rows. I've got to revert in order to get back to my permissions and actually run and execute as again. Now we'll run this as row security 2012, 3,000 rows. And here again, all the rows that they can see are from 2012. I'll revert once more, make sure that I'm me. Now let's see if I have access to this table again, and I do. I like this feature. I don't like it as much as Query Store, but I like this. I like it a lot.
What's the execution plan for that?
What is the what? I'm sorry.
Execution plan for that? They're just seeking through the execution plan for those selects.
Oh, execution. What is the execution plan for those selects? You know, that's actually a good query, a good question. Let me do that.
I was going to ask if you've done any performance testing. See how CPU reads.
So I am going to go way out on a limb. Well, not really way out on a limb, but I'm going to say that it does a filter in it. Basically gets the results and then it does a filter based off of this table value function that's returned. I can't just run based on row security 2012 or 2011 because they only have read-only rights, and that doesn't give you rights to be able to view execution plans. Somebody say, really? Yes, that is the truth, yes.
What if you reverted back to your other security policy where you didn't have rights in here?
I could do that if you're really wanting to see. Or I could do that. Or you guys could go download it and test this out for yourselves.
It's easier if you do it.
You guys don't want to see always encrypted? Come on.
We get 20 minutes.
So now we'll come to the last. I tell you what, if we'll have time, we'll go back to that. Promise. Okay. Last thing is always encrypted. Everybody's talking about always encrypted. They think it's going to be the greatest thing on earth. I'm not a big fan of it yet. The reason why is because it's literally always encrypted. If you have data and it's encrypted, how are you going to do analysis out? I figured out how to get data into the database and make it encrypted. I have yet to figure out how to get it out. I would assume that you would just need to use a certificate, but I know that you can't use SSMS to get it out unless you're able to declare some kind of thing with the certificate and things like that. Like, I really didn't have a chance to play with it, but I am going to show you that inserting it does encrypt the data and it stays encrypted in the stream, because I'll show you that using a extended event. Let me see if I have any other notes on this here. There are two different types. There's deterministic and randomized encryption. I'm going to use deterministic, but randomized is a little bit better. I use deterministic because I just wanted it to work. Now, when they first came out with this, they said you have to use .NET 4.6. And I thought to myself, oh God, I'm going to have to write a .NET app. I was terrified. Like I said, curly brackets, those kind of things, I don't do that. I really don't. But then I thought to myself, so I just need .NET objects. How can I instantiate .NET objects but not write a GUI? Is there a way that I could do that? Does anybody want to give me an idea on how they could do that? That's right, PowerShell. I will just use PowerShell. All right. And when I got this to work, I really did feel like a sir. I felt very, very proud. So you can use all of these rage comics in your life experiences, and you don't have to be able to draw in any way, shape, or form. You just throw them on a screen somewhere and then type some text out. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is make sure that I have my always encrypted database. I was really clever and called it AEDB. The next thing I'm going to do is in AEDB, I'm going to create a key for it. It's going to be an always encrypted key. And it's actually going to be a column encryption key. And I'm going to call this key cowbell key. LSU fan there loves it. Loves the cowbell key. All right. I also have to have a column master key. I can create one here if I want to. Here's a list of all the certificates that are on my box. Now, I've created these randomly just as a self-signed certificate, and you can do that right here. But if you have other certificates that you want to use and bind these to instead, you're certainly welcome to. But I'll show you that it will really just create another encryption certificate for you. Now for my master key definition name, I'm going to call this column master key definition name. And I'll create that, and then I'll script this out. You see this nice little encrypted value here. That's a lot of fun. That's a lot of fun. Now, I'm going to create a table, and I'm going to create just a simple var chart of 50. I do have to collate any columns that I'm going to use this using that collation. It has to be, well, I shouldn't say particularly lacking one general bin 2, but it has to be a bin 2 collation. Let me come out here and show you a little bit more of this. So it also uses this big long algorithm as well. And it won't take nulls either. Like I said, I'm going to use deterministic because I want to make sure that it works, first and foremost. All right. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a procedure that just does a basic insert into my table. All right. Now the next.
Did the store procedure do anything special? Did it have to be a store procedure?
No. The question is, does the store procedure do anything special? No, it does not. Whoa. Now I have my nice little PowerShell script here. And I'm literally just calling ADO.NET. Whenever you install 2016, it installs the .NET 4.6 objects for you. But I'm literally just calling, like I said, ADO commands. This is my store procedure I created. And my connection string that I've set up, I have to include this in it. Column encryption enabled. I'm just going to use integrated security, and this is my server. I have a named instance, and there's my database name. So there's nothing really too fancy in here. I am going to prompt myself for a value. And my prompt is Valor Mogulis. My response is Valor Dahirus. I'm going to do that all one word. All right. Looked like everything went okay. And there's our encrypted value. All right. Now, we want to make sure that it's always encrypted. So I've got this extended event session down here. I literally just used one of the base query templates for it. And I'm going to start this session. It's called For the Watch, since we have a kind of a Game of Thrones theme going on right now. So I'll come back over to my PowerShell script. I'm going to run this again. I'm just gonna type some stuff this time. Run it a couple more times. Oh, and I've got some procedure calls that have completed. You can see here, this is the statement that ran. The data is always encrypted. Got the mic, yeah. Any questions on that? Yes, sir.
Can I view that data in SQL without the client?
Can I view the data in SQL without the client? What do you mean the client?
Like, with the old encryption stuff, I could encrypt it, and I could decrypt it.
Oh, right.
Can I decrypt it in SQL without?
You're asking if you could basically, if you know the symmetric key, could you basically use that and then query it? There's got to be a way to do it. Like I said, I just wanted to make sure that I could get the insert piece of it working. But I have not seen an example or seen a way of actually getting the data back out of being encrypted. Because it's always encrypted, right?
I'm pretty sure that's not the case.
No, I'm sure you could get it back out.
The worst feature ever.
I mean, but the way that it works is, like I said, there's got to be a way to basically tie into the certificate and say that, I'm trusted by the certificate, so I'm kind of talking out of my butt here a little bit, but there's got to be a way to use that certificate to turn around and get the data out. Now, I don't know if you can even really do that through SSMS. You may have to do that through some other means of some kind.
That's what I was thinking.
Can you run an extended procedure using the DLL that is trusted and then say like an XP_decrypt and then bring it back?
Yeah, the question was, could you have basically an extended store procedure where you could just, run it through that and get the data back? I'm sure you could. That's probably a really good idea.
So like a CLR object.
Right, you could use CLR and that would use .NET objects too.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Any other questions on always encrypted? Yes.
I don't think you read somewhere that you can't use line. You have to have that specific value.
That is correct. You have to use equality operators with it. Although I'm wanting to say that that's not the case for one of the encryption types, because like I said, there's deterministic and randomized. And since randomized is tougher, I know for a fact that you can't use a like statement with it. It has to be equality searches. but it might not be the case with deterministic.
Because the client would send them the funky bits to look for, not the actual value. You couldn't say select where this, have it go decrypted. So, yeah.
Right, yeah. Okay, so that's
Hey, go back and do what everybody wanted to do.
That's pretty much all I have. Yeah, everything went better than expected, I hope. Yeah. Does everybody want to see that? Want to see that one last demo?
Yes.
Okay, let's give it a shot and see what we have. We're going to learn together today. All right. Oh, let me stop my extended event session too. We don't really care about that anymore. All right. Yes, and now the watch is ended. Well
We
played.
do have a giveaway today, so we're gonna be passing out some stuff. You guys want to say the giveaway?
There is a giveaway from Tech Systems, our awesome sponsor.
Yeah, that's what we're delaying.
Row security demo. Here we go. All right. You're gonna have to bear with me because I'm going down to 100% so I can actually see what the heck I'm doing here.
Just run the query.
So the first thing I need to do is, where is the security policy? There's the security policy. So let's do that. All right. And then we want to change the function. So we're going to alter this back to what it was. What are you saying? I'm not complicating this. I'm doing it right. I'll recreate my security policy. And now with my permissions, I'm going to run this and we're going to look at the actual execution plan. So let's look and see what it does. But there is a filter down there too.
Very cool.
I like it when I'm right.
Go back to your slide of topics that we're going to cover today. Let's ask people
Okay, that's actually a good idea.
what they want to talk about. What you want to see next year as this comes out. See, I never know. I wrote a presentation on sequences. I spent 500 hours on this thing. And nobody cared. It was like, this is cool, but we're not going to use this for years. So, stretch databases. Anybody want to see a full presentation on that again?
Yeah, does anybody want to see anything on stretch database?
Stretcher.
Okay. Yeah. What about the changes in in-memory OLTP? Something more extended in temporal tables? It sounds like Lewis has kind of a session to be working on for that.
They also do. Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, I would love to do one, a bigger one on at a query store row level security.
Agreed. Yes. I would do that.
I've kind of had the idea of row level security, basically, since, I mean, it's literally a where clause for how you filter it out. So I'm wondering if you could reference a table and have a list of users in it. And basically say, if you're in the admin group, basically, but you're not the service account, then you don't get access to any of the tables, and then basically run a SP for your table.
Yeah, I think we can give you a presentation on the security aspects.
Yeah.
That have changed.
Yeah, that's security 2016 thing.
So nobody cared about the in-memory OLTP. That's interesting. It's really cool.
It is really cool, and I do like that they are working on getting rid of some of the constraints on it. Major, yes, that are keeping folks from running it.
Well, I have a presentation on in-memory every year. It was like, don't use it.
Now, as far as in-memory tables go, and correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is it's really good if you're doing lots of inserts, but not necessarily if you're doing lots of updates. Is that correct? Or
no, it's cool for updates. There's no blocking on updates or deletes or selects. But they suggest it for complex operations.
I've heard that it's really good for if you have an ASD state database.
I was just getting ready to say that. That
Okay.
was the perfect use.
Yeah, I've actually been told that that's why it was developed as kind of a better way and faster way of doing ASD state is using those in-memory tables. Maybe that's wrong. I don't. You're more of an insider than I am.
What's a good row batch size?
Good what?
A row batch size, number of rows if you're trying to up, because I know you can't do 7 million.
For what?
OLT, in memory,
Why can't you do 7 million?
it doesn't do that.
Really?
It just,
So you guys use it?
try it.
Okay. I don't know. That's
Yeah, we need more
a good
memory.
question. I mean, updating 7 million rows at a time would seem kind of scary because that means you have to duplicate. If you have 7 million rows and you update 7 million rows, you're going to end up with 14 million rows until it's finished and nobody else is referencing them. And the cleanup can occur. That's why they suggest twice the RAM.
Yeah.
So if everybody updates all the rows at once, or you have 2 or 3 updates, you can stack versions. But wow, 7 million sounds like a lot. Are you sure it's doing nothing, or is it just, did you wait like a week and see if it?
Well,
That'd be awesome.
yes.
Can I borrow your data tonight? Just put it on a disk.
Sure.
Take it home.
It's not.
Apparently we're getting a survey of all surveys today. Slightly longer than normal. Running out of things to say.
Did anybody get a count?
I did, it was 107.
Good turnout. Best turnout this year.
It's almost was magically amazing.
You like me, you really like me.
The only other thing I remember that's changing is column store indexes allow updates. Oh no, not all updates. They allow non-clustered indexes on a clustered column store table, which is absolutely fantastic to use a column. You cannot update. If you do an ETL process and one of your things is to update a cluster column store, it scans every table for every update. Okay, so we went a little longer. We only have a few people.
Yeah. Okay,
Must be
so
present to win, by the way.
yes.
Yeah.
So last month we did the little automatic charger that Eddie won. So just in case you guys are wondering, if he gets drawn, he doesn't get this one too. So this time I decided to go with a nice little speaker that glows and everything. So hook up your phone to it and have a nice little speaker.
That would be fun.
Very, very professional way of doing this, I know.
I think you're doing a great
Robert,
job.
would you like to come pick one?
Not really, I'm not being right.
Come on, no, you pick one.
Throw one for you.
Hey, that's the winner
That's
right
the
there.
winner.
That's it.
Okay. Michael Shawson? Swanson. Okay.
No, it's Sid Swanson.
Here you go. And we'll have a nice little prize every month. I told them that I start doing this too.
So like you said, the Microsoft scripting guys, you guys may have heard of them, do PowerShell. They're doing a presentation. Oh, really? Last Wednesday, yeah.
Oh,
Last Wednesday, next month, Franklin office, I'll send out a thing for that. And then we have a speaker here on the Friday. Almost Go up. It is during pass, yes. So if you're going to pass,
You will miss
you
out.
use our chapter code. So we get our big bucks and you save the $150. No, if you're going to pass, you'll miss it. Both meetings you'll miss. But they're here at the conference, so.
But let's be honest, if you're going to Summit, you're not exactly missing the meeting here.
True. Okay.
That's all we have. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it, guys.
We can't, it can grow awkward.
Nice. Very good.
Good questions. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, it was real good.
I need to. Yep.
Stuff to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I need to turn this off.
Thank you.
Oh, no problem. My pleasure.
Yeah, my first little glimpse of 2016. I'm not even going to use 2014. Jim's call.